Thank you so much, Max, for that kind introduction, and thank you, Mr. McDowell, for the opportunity to give this address. This is an address that's often given by a member of faculty who is retiring or departing. Unfortunately, I have not won the most recent Mega Millions lottery jackpot, which is somewhere north of $600 million before tax. So me giving this talk is not an early indication of my retirement or departure from the school, but you never know when your numbers will hit, so stay tuned for more. When I was a kid, my extended family watched a lot of musicals. Both sides of the family had a rich history of enjoying these films and their soundtracks and performances. Throughout my younger life, the songs of the classics, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Singing in the Rain, West Side Story, White Christmas, and Holiday Inn permeated our existence. On my mom's side, the favorite, though, was The Sound of Music. It was entertaining, something we could all agree on, and brought back powerful memories for the adults in our family. We still sing Edelweiss as a group at significant events. Within The Sound of Music, one of my favorite songs is Do Re Mi. The playful tune helps you learn the musical notes. Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden sun. Mi, a name to call myself. And Fa, a long, long way to run. And so on and so forth. But it's the first line of the song that's always gotten me. It begins by saying, let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. I think it always has struck me because it seemed so obvious. Like, where else would I start but at the very beginning? But what I really love is the next line. A very good place to start. It sets no expectations or desired outcomes that are required for the journey ahead. It does not say, let's start at the very beginning with an extremely clear path forward and only one or two options for a successful ending, or the whole thing is a failure and my life is ruined. Now, granted, this doesn't work with the musical meter, it doesn't flow, and maybe I should give some credit to Rodgers and Hammerstein that they actually knew what they were doing. But I think there's something more to it as well. What if when we started at the very beginning, we recognize that this was the best possible place for us to start on what would be an adventure that we could not fully predict, control, or plan? Now, this sounds great in theory, but I can only speak from my own experience, and I've lost track of the amount of times I've started at the very beginning with an extremely clear intention of what success looks like that is often limited, binary, and leaves little room for mystery and exploration along the journey. I have a sneaking suspicion in this gorgeous chapel that I am not alone. But as we start at the very beginning, I would like to pose two different things for us to consider for us on this academic year journey. One, what does it mean to leave room for the mystery and surprise of life? And two, to encourage us to focus on both the eulogy and the resume virtues. But first, mystery and surprise. A mystery is something that is impossible or difficult to explain or understand. Oftentimes, the mysteries in our own life or the wider world are not something we're particularly comfortable with. We as humans tend to thrive on our ability to know. We take great confidence in the predictability of equations and outcomes and procedures. And we have a great belief in ourselves and others to get things done effectively. This is why large questions of why are we here, what am I going to do with my life, can be both so enticing, but also so nerve-wracking and scary. One of my favorite quotes is from theologian Karl Barth, who says, "Fear is a person's first response to a mystery that surpasses their understanding." We often get very fearful when the world out there seems much bigger than what we can comprehend. I think that mystery also has an element of surprise to it. And we also are not huge fans of surprises. Sure, we may love a surprise birthday party, maybe a surprise heads holiday. I still think you're a little early in the term to ask for one, but that's just my personal opinion. But overall, we tend to limit the amount of surprise in our life. This is one reason why you as students love study guides so much, so that you'll not be surprised by what's on a particular exam or quiz. We as faculty like a good heads up as well. It can be stressful when that surprise heads holiday throws off our class routine, what we had planned for a group or for our team. As we approach the new year, many of us, or all of us, have set goals and have things we want to accomplish. We plan to work hard to achieve these things in an attempt to minimize the mysteries and surprises, be they here or in our future. I don't think this is a terrible thing in itself. Having goals is good, focus points and intentions for how you want your year to go or your time at Mercersburg. But I think the issue is when we hold on to these goals so tightly that we squeeze out any chance of surprise or mystery as an opportunity for success. If our focus on this journey is so fixed on the results, on the place we want to end up, we might just miss the scenery around us, the unexpected detours of life that open up new horizons or opportunities, and the people that make traveling this path so spectacular. So as we begin at the very beginning, let us not be so focused on how we want the year to end, or so determined to only achieve a few things that anything in those areas other than success is deemed a failure, and miss out on the beauty of life at Mercersburg Academy. I know of no one in life who is a successful person by whatever metric that you want to use who has not experienced a mysterious or unplanned element that changed their life for the better. When I think of that, I think of a Mercersburg grad, Thomas Yankee. In August of 2019, I found myself with Thomas in Deep Creek, Maryland, having coffee at his parents' house that summer. The Yankees had been nice enough to invite us for the weekend down, and he and I were having a quick chat before we hit the road. Thomas and I were close during his time here at Mercersburg. We regularly met over breakfast to talk about life, faith, and the world at large, and I was privileged to have him do a reading at my ordination into the ministry. As we sat drinking coffee, Thomas told me about something that had occurred over the summer. His Mercersburg Academy classmate, postgraduate student Maria Whitmore, had connected Thomas with her best friend from home, a girl named Megan, who was entering her sophomore year at her sophomore year at Penn State, that's better, the same place Thomas would start college in just a few weeks. Thomas and Megan had briefly met at graduation and then had essentially gone on like a first date / blind date to a John Mayer concert, which might be the best first date I've ever heard of. And he could not stop talking about her. It was clear that he saw something in her that captivated him. I had never heard him talk about a girl like this before. But there was one problem. Thomas had created a list of goals and focus points for himself to focus on that fall, in the hopes of establishing good habits in college and getting comfortable at Penn State. One of his do not do's was dating anyone his first semester. Here lies our dilemma. After Thomas told me about this and his existential crisis and concerns around it, we sat for a few moments. When I spoke, I applauded him on setting goals for himself and having a clear focus of how he wanted to start his college career. This was a very smart thing to do. I then quickly told him he would be very foolish to miss out on a good thing just so he could say he achieved a goal he arbitrarily set out for himself. We laughed, talked about it just a little bit more, and left the conversation at that. When I connected with Thomas later that fall, I learned that he and Megan were dating, and this past 4th of July, they became engaged on the same lake where he and I had that chat 5 years ago. Now, I am taking absolutely zero credit for what I expect to be an extremely happy and joyous marriage. But I find this story to be a really good example of allowing room for mysteries and surprises in life, and to not be so focused on what's ahead of you that you let a good thing pass you by. It is my distinct hope that at some point this year you are surprised in a good way, or you encounter something that is unknown that you want to learn more about. It's my hope that you meet new friends, you engage with new colleagues or new classmates whose ideas and worldview bring light into your life and expand your own horizons. It's my hope that you'll be gracious to yourself when the unexpected challenges and mysteries of life appear that are not so positive, and that you'll trust members of our community to help you in these times. We are blessed beyond all measure to be at a special place full of special people who are there for each other when the going gets tough, and that is always a wonderful thing. And it's my hope that not only will we leave room for the mysteries and surprises of life, but that we'll also focus on the eulogy and resume virtues of existence. In his book, The Road to Character, columnist David Brooks, New York Times columnist David Brooks, discusses two sets of values. He begins by highlighting resume virtues or values, the things you put on your application, be it for college, a job, maybe a fine institution like this one. Brooks notes that places like schools and corporations specialize in these virtues and celebrate those who master them. And we, as a society in turn, hold these virtues up as a litmus test for a successful life. While Brooks recognizes that these make someone stick out in the marketplace, he calls eulogy virtues the things that people say stuck out about you when they speak at your funeral. They were kind, they were loving and supportive, always up for a laugh. You guys get the idea. Eulogy virtues are the markers of an individual's character. And it's these that Brooks contends make a life whole and truly special. As I read this, though, I thought, if these are so important, why do we as a larger society prioritize resume over eulogy virtues? I believe it's this way because the elements that go on our resume are much more quantifiable and measurable in a way that eulogy virtues are not. It's also easier to focus on raising a test score or a GPA as opposed to being a more honest, virtuous, or forgiving person. Resume virtues are targets. They're goals that have a clear finish line. Eulogy virtues are constantly shifting and ever evolving, and you're never fully formed in them. If I prioritize forgiveness and care, there's never a time when I have mastered that. Never a time where I can say, well, cross that finish line, don't need to forgive anyone or care about another person ever again. Nevertheless, as Brooks notes, you can achieve every resume virtue you want, cross the finish line of every degree and award, be a leader in your field, and still feel that you're missing something in your life. Conversely, you could prioritize nothing but eulogy virtues and not go very far either. Rather, it's about finding balance between the two. Throughout the book, Brooks highlights those who did find that balance in some way, shape, or form. People who recognized that success in life was not simply a question of test scores, degrees, or job titles, but also about who they were as people. Make no mistake about it, Brooks is not just suggesting these people are saints. He not only points out their successes, but also their flaws, recognizing that no existence is perfect. But rather, he continuously emphasizes that becoming people of good character and exceptional skill requires a balance that pushes us to be mindful of both the resume and the eulogy virtues in our life. This year, I hope you experience great success wherever you're trying to build your resume. Success that will help you achieve those lofty goals and ambitions that you have set out for yourself. But I also hope you develop as a person of character who's more than just something a resume or a transcript can quantify. I hope you practice kindness. I hope you're mindful of others, are willing to give grace both to yourself and those around you, and that you see the joy and beauty in this year and in this place. None of us know what this year will bring, but we each can grow as a whole person in these next 9 months. I promise you this year will not be perfect. Nothing in life will be. Nevertheless, our time together can be transformative if we seek to make it so. So let's start, eager and excited to take this journey together, supporting one another as we seek to achieve the goals we have already made and embrace the mysteries and unknowns we will face. Let's start prepared to not only grow our resumes, but as people, understanding ourselves, our surroundings, and our wider world better. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen this year, but I can promise you one thing. We are in the best possible place to learn, grow, and delight in the joy of community. We are at the very beginning, and it's a very good place to start. Amen.